a webinar agenda. First of all, we're going to cover what this ARA program, this Medicare stimulus is, why they put it in place, and kind of the purpose of what this is going to do to healthcare and chiropractic in the next couple of years. We're going to talk about why this year this is so important. You hear so many people talking about this. And we're going to also cover some of what your responsibility as healthcare providers is, what kind of tools you guys are going to need. I don't want to make this too chiropractic-centric. I will go through some of what you guys need to be looking for when wanting to go through this at the station. And then there's not going to be a Q&A. Well, there will if you guys have time for it. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with EHR beyond this year. So just to get started, first of all, what is the ARA stimulus? Like it says, it's the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. This was passed in 2009, and essentially the purpose of ARA was initially to give the economy a boost as we were going through the very deepest part of this recession. So kind of pump some money in there, get people spending it, get us out of that slump. And within ARA is what's known as the High-Tech Act. Essentially what they did was they allocated $19 billion towards electronic healthcare adoption. And that was pretty much to mitigate the apprehension that clinics are having in adopting these types of systems, whether it's purchasing the system, whether it's purchasing hardware, or the time it's going to take to actually implement this. One thing that people either don't talk about or fail to recognize, essentially what they want to do is better analyze the course of care and make the necessary changes where they see it. We've all seen the statistics. The U.S. is pretty much the largest spender on healthcare in the world, and we don't really come close to the quality of healthcare, life expectancy, and pretty much overall health as compared to other developed nations. So the purpose of EHR adoption is not only to really reduce the running cost of clinics and hospitals, but really it's to better analyze the data and offset the huge costs that are associated with these chronic illnesses and hospitalizations. So this is something that is really true with the chiropractic community. They've been saying it for years. Why are we waiting these 15, 20, 30 years until the patient's really in trouble, start masking the symptoms with medications, when we can take a look at where a patient's habits and daily lives are taking them and make decisions early on and kind of mitigate future illnesses and future surgeries, future hospitalizations. The final thing I want to know, because I get this question a lot from a lot of people that call in here, this is here to stay. This is not going away. This is the second year that this program is really in full swing. This is not going to go in front of the Senate or Congress. They're not going to vote on this and suddenly take this away. This money's been allocated, and this program is definitely in full swing. Don't wait to adopt. So what makes this timely? Basically, this reimbursement goes down every year. The full amount that you can get this year is $39,000 if you adopt now. Next year, it's going to drop down to $24,000, and then in 2015, if you are seeing Medicare patients and you're not compliant, they are going to start levying fines. Also, this is actually really one of the biggest additions you're going to make to your clinic. So you're taking a piece of software and you're automating a lot of what you're doing, not only with your notes and those types of things. It's really with a lot of the administrative tasks that your staff is doing on a day-to-day. So the government is basically saying, hey, this is something that is a huge difference to your clinic. We're going to help cover the cost. So why not take advantage of that? Finally, it's a good opportunity for you guys to reinvest in your practice. They've put aside this $39,000 not in anticipation that you're going to be spending it all on software, but also that, again, you're going to need to put new computer systems in place. Really, you should have money left over. You can give your clinic a facelift. You can buy those new tables. You can spend it on marketing. You can buy cookies for the neighborhood, whatever you guys need to do. but it's definitely a chance for you guys to inject some capital into your clinic and really get a fresh start in these next couple of years. Another reason to adopt right now is this is only the first phase of meaningful use. They are going to come out with a phase 2, so it's much, much easier for you guys to bite this off in chunks. Start with phase 1, get comfortable with it. When phase 2 comes, you're not going to have a whole, a ton of new changes coming on both phases. And the final thing is EHR is just part of what software you guys should be researching, whether it's ChiroTouch, whether it's anybody else out there in the market. This is an opportunity for you guys to really bulletproof those notes. Audits are up everywhere. Everybody knows it. It's really something that you can get a little bit of confidence in knowing that you don't have this pile of papers. Being organized, having all your files electronic is really going to make it easier for you guys to show medical necessity, defend yourselves from any of these costly errors. And then also, you get to reduce redundancies. Why have staff do all this work when you can have your software do all the work? What we really want to see here at ChiroTouch is you guys re-engaging your staff, having them be more active participants in the clinic's growth rather than shuffling papers around, essentially. And the final thing is time. Everybody's looking for more time. It's the one resource that we can't fabricate more of, so why not reduce the amount of work you're doing for your notes, for anything else in the clinic? You can spend more time with patients. You can see more of them. You can go home to your families. You can go golfing. It's all about saving time. So just to explain a little bit the incentive reimbursement schedule, because it's something that's a little confusing to people. This is what it looks like. So if you are collecting $24,000 or more in Medicare payments, you're eligible for the full amount. Anything underneath that is 75% of your Medicare collections. A good rule of thumb is if you are collecting $2,000 to $3,000 or more in Medicare payments annually, it's something that will really pay off for you guys. So one thing that you can do is go back to last year's 1099s and see how much you collected for Medicare, make your decision based on that. The reimbursement schedule is actually broken up over 4 years. So it's a sliding payment. You get the bulk of it your first year, and then every year that you comply, it goes down and down. Down here, this is what your fines are looking at 2015 if you are not complying. So they're actually going to fine you all the way to 2019. It's not a huge amount, but it's definitely something that you don't want to give up if you have to. So let's take a look at what your responsibility is going to be. Once again, make sure that this program is right for you. Again, go back to those 1099s, take a look. If you're at that $2,000 to $3,000 collection range, it's probably a good idea to comply now. You're going to have to eventually. One thing that you do have to bear in mind as well is Medicare tends to set the standard for all the insurance carriers. So we can pretty much confidently say the other insurance carriers are actually going to require these same type of standards, same type of compliance in the near future. It's not guaranteed, but we're pretty sure. Next thing that you guys want to make sure is that you are purchasing a software, a group of software that qualifies as 100% certified in CMS standards. This is fairly easy to do. Most softwares will tell you right away if they're certified or not. You can actually log onto CMS's website, and they have a full list of softwares that do qualify under these standards. A lot of people tend to think that this is something that the clinic needs to be compliant with. It's not. This is actually per provider. So if you have more than one provider that wants to participate, you actually do need to apply twice. But the nice thing about that is you're eligible for incentives for more than one provider. So you have the opportunity to get $70,000, $80,000. We've had several clinics go through it in the last couple of years that have received fairly large reimbursement checks, and it's obviously been really nice for them. you do want to register with CMS. I can't hammer this point in enough. Each provider has to register with CMS and report on meaningful use objectives. So this does require you guys as providers to collect the data that they're wanting you to. I'm not going to go into so much of what they want you to collect because that's a very large topic at this point. But if you guys are interested in looking into it, you can log on to CMS's website. They've got a full list. Caretouch.com, we've also got a full section on what the core criteria are going to be. And then the final thing is you guys are going to need to report on this by February of 2014. So you've got 2 months to basically get all your paperwork in order, send it into Medicare, and expect your checks. So I touched on the qualification process in a couple of earlier slides here. Basically, you have to show meaningful use. They've got 15 core criteria that you're going to have to collect data on each of your patient visits, and they're going to expect a certain percentage of your patient database to be compliant with this. Be aware this isn't just your Medicare patients, this is your entire patient database. So every patient that comes in, it's good practice to collect these core objectives from them, whether it's height, weight, blood pressure is one of them, or smoking status, what medications they're on. So you do need to comply for your entire patient database. The calculation is essentially 75% of your Medicare Part B claims. So again, you can take a look at how much you've collected this year or last year, and you can gauge, I'm going to get paid 75% of this up to a max of $39,000. That max cutoff is $24,000 in collections. Your payout, $39,000, it's actually paid out over 4 years, not 5 years. That's a typo on my part, but you can expect a check every year. And this, again, is the last year to collect that full $39,000. Next year, you're going to lose $15,000 in this reimbursement, so it's good to act now. And can't stress this enough. I know I've mentioned it in the last couple of slides, but penalties do start in 2015. These are penalties that we're aware of now. Starting phase 2, they may add additional penalties, so don't lose any money unnecessarily. So talking about some of the tools that you guys should be looking for in software systems that you're researching, whether it's ChiroTouch, whether it's one of our competitors out there in the market, there's plenty. You want to be looking at tools that easily let you identify whether you're compliant. One thing that we have built into ChiroTouch, I'm not sure how other systems do this. I would imagine that they have similar type of offerings, but we have the dashboard. We like to do a lot of things in the stoplight system. Green, good. Yellow, you got work to do. Red, bad, obviously. So this will give you an overview. You log into your system. You take a look. These are my meaningful use criteria. Where do I need to do work? Obviously, this clinic has a long way to go. If you're all in the greens, you can be comfortable that you're compliant and you're good to go. Another tool that we've built in that's specific to ChiroTouch is a wizard. What we saw in our first year of taking our clients through this, and we've taken actually about 1,000 clinics through this process so far, is a lot of critical practice members doing a lot of this work. So your office managers, your doctors. So what we wanted to do is make it easier and keep it HIPAA compliant. So what we did was we built these wizards into it that basically will let your front desk staff, employees that are less critical to the operations of the clinic, go in there and basically click a yes, no. It'll let them know what criteria down here that they want to test for. And it's something like if you guys have installed Skype, for example, it'll give you a wizard. Do I want to do this? Yes. It'll click you through it. So this way you can kind of spread this task around each of your practice members. So I know we've gone through a lot of information really, really quickly. Part of this webinar is just to raise awareness that this program's out there. What we found is there's a lot of people practicing out there that oddly haven't heard about this program. Like I said, again, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of this, definitely log on to caretouch.com, log on to CMS, and take a look at what you're going to be. And here we go. with some of our computer issues here, take a look at what some of these core measures are going to be. Some closing thoughts, and this is a quote I really, really like. It's when the pace of change outside an organization becomes greater than the pace of change inside an organization, that's really when the end is near. Chiropractic specifically has seen a lot of changes with how they're collecting money from insurance companies, from Medicare. The clinics in the 80s and the 90s that we saw a lot of audits going through, we saw Medicare really cutting back. The ones that survived are the ones that adopted these changes early. If you wait till there's just an avalanche of changes, it's going to be very, very difficult for you guys to comply. If you're taking these steps one by one, you'll grow organically, so don't wait. Another thing that people really tend to not realize is chiropractic has been included in this program by design. We're seeing a lot of overhaul in healthcare in this country, and what the government basically said is, hey, we want chiropractic to be part of this. They've included us. Don't exclude yourself by choice. That pretty much covers what I wanted to do in introducing this topic. I don't know if you guys out there have some questions that you want me to address. I'm happy to take some time right now to kind of go through a little bit more of a Q&A to kind of clear up some apprehensions or some of what's a little bit vague out there.
Yeah, it looks like we actually do have a couple questions. Let me go ahead and get started on the first one. The first one is, let's see, where is it? Is there a dispute office for those who did this last year and didn't get the full reimbursement?
That's something that you're going to have to contact CMS on. I'm going to go ahead and leave my contact information for this question so that way I can answer it more one-on-one, because I'm not really sure why you wouldn't have gotten the full reimbursement outside of not collecting enough Medicare payments.
Okay. Hopefully that answers their question. Next one I have is, can you clarify the $24,000 revenue requirement from Medicare? Is this allowed or paid?
This is paid. So it's what you've collected on your Part B claims. Obviously, you can bill Medicare for a ton of money that they're not going to pay you on, but it's what you've collected.
Great, great. Now, how is the penalty assessed?
The penalty is a percentage of your Medicare payments, and the penalty is actually on a sliding scale. It goes up each year. It starts at 0.5%, and it's going to go all the way up to 1.5% of all your collections.
Great. Okay. Let's see. Sift through a couple more of these. How does Medicare determine the penalties after 2015?
It's kind of covered in the last question, but again, it's a percentage of your collections. So they're going to fine you starting at 0.5% in 2015, and each year it's going to go up 0.5% to 1%, 1.5% each year all the way through 2009. Okay. I'm sorry, 2019.
Okay. Going in the past there. All right. Now here's a good question. Let's see. Is the reimbursement based upon Medicare proper claims or all Medicare-related claims? For example, United Healthcare or other substitute Medicare insurances?
It's not. It's just on Medicare. It's on your Part B claims. So
okay.
United Healthcare, everybody else, it's not going to count. Again, like I said earlier, we can be pretty confident that these other insurance carriers are going to require the same type of measures in the next couple of years. So you can wait to comply, but it's just basically putting a Band-Aid on something that you're going to have to do eventually.
Sure, sure. Now, I have a couple questions that kind of coincide with each other, so I'm going to kind of mash them together. Now, there are a couple viewers that they don't take Medicare patients. Do the penalties apply to them if they aren't a Medicare provider?
I'm assuming what the question is asking, if you're a non-participating provider and you're basically having your patients submit this to Medicare, you're still eligible for this. So if you're seeing Medicare patients at all, even if you're not billing directly to Medicare, you can still participate.
Okay, great. And looks like we have a good amount of time for some. Oh, go ahead.
And just to clarify on that, if you don't see Medicare patients at all, whether you're participating or non-participating, then this program's, it's just something that you don't have to worry about right now.
Okay. Here's a ChiroTouch question. What is the turnaround time for implementing CMS and ChiroTouch?
Well, we're kind of starting to hit a deadline here. Part of what, and not just for ChiroTouch, for any other system out there, you're obviously going to want to implement the system, get trained, hopefully get a little bit comfortable with the system, and then start implementing CMS. Typically, our clients take about 6 weeks to get up and running because we do take you through one-on-one training. We are going to have an expedited training process in place for those clinics that wait till the last minute, so we can get you through it as late as installing in September. The CMS guidelines, you're going to need 90 days of meaningful use. So essentially, what they're going to ask you is for October, November, and December that you are collecting these data sets from each of your clinics. So you're going to need a minimum of 90 days to be using any software, whether it's ChiroTouch or not. So you have an October, an October 3rd deadline to get live, up and running, and actually showing meaningful use. So not a lot of time left at the end of the year here. We are in August. There's about 8 weeks of adopting and going live time left, which is not a whole lot, guys out there, because you are essentially changing a lot of what you're doing operationally in the clinic. So start early if you do want to participate. It'll be a much, much more comfortable process.
Awesome. Okay. And then one last question. Seems like some of these are similar questions. But let's see where to go. Here we go. I am non-par. Most Medicare money goes direct to patients. Does the 24K mean only money that has come to me?
No, it's not. It's what's allowable to the patients as well. So you can collect that data from Medicare, and that does, you do qualify for this. You can certainly participate for this program.
Okay. All right. And one last question here. But does this program help pay for overtime for the training process, or just hardware and software?
Well, this money's not allocated in a particular area. They've basically give you this chunk of $39,000 in cash to do whatever you need to do with it, whether it's hardware, whether it's software, whether it's the time that you're going to put into training staff if you need to get additional people to help you out. So you can allocate the money any place you want. And like I said earlier, if you want to buy cookies for the neighborhood, certainly you can do that as well. So they don't really dictate where you're putting this money.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Did you have any kind of questions that you know people usually ask?
I think we've pretty much covered a lot of what you generally need to know before going into this. And I know I've said some things a little bit redundantly, but here's something that we encounter a lot. There is a deadline to this, and it is work. We've tried to, here at ChiroTouch, make it as easy as possible, and we've tried to make as many resources as possible to you. But don't wait till the last minute. We have a lot of people that do it. Last year, we had about 100 clinics waiting till the very last minute to get through it. We got them through it, but it certainly wasn't a comfortable process. The earlier you adopt, the more time you can take on getting comfortable, and the more confident you're going to be that you're complying to these measures. A lot of people believe that there's a huge amount of work involved in this. It's not if you're organized. You'll probably add about 1 to 2 minutes per patient visit in your first 90 days. After your first 90 days, it's going to be a couple seconds each visit for your staff just to make sure that they've collected this data. There was one final point that I wanted to bring up, which is audits. This doesn't open you up to audits. Really, audits are up across the board. The more compliant you are and the more data that you're sending over to CMS and Medicare, obviously you're being compliant, so the less likely that you will be audited. This isn't a certainty, but part of the money that they're looking to make back on this program, because they just haven't allocated $19 billion, it is on fines. Part of this $19 billion that they've put towards this is on fines. So those of you who don't adopt, they're going to come after the money. So it's kind of the opposite. This won't open you up to audits. This will be probably something that's going to protect you more than trying to stay under the radar.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and leave my contact info. And before I do that, again, I really want to apologize for being late here. I am a 10 minutes early person. I had enormous amount of technical difficulties, so I know your time is valuable, and you guys at iMatrix, I know your time is valuable as well, so I do want to apologize. I am available Monday through Friday. Anybody who needs to call me, I can be reached directly at 619-488-9484. Again, that's 619-488-9484. I'm happy to answer questions on EHR. I'm happy to answer questions on ChiroTouch. I'll encourage you to call me whether you're ChiroTouch clients, whether you're interested in ChiroTouch, whether you'll never be ChiroTouch clients. We do want to be a valuable resource to the profession out there regardless of adoption of our software. So feel free to contact me anytime. I'm here to help.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you again, Fabio. You know, things like that happen with technology nowadays, so there's always hiccups here and there, but we do appreciate you presenting. And again, for all those who didn't get a chance to either stay for the full webinar or the ones that had to come in a little bit later, we do have this recorded. We will be sending it out to all attendees and also those who have registered but were not able to attend. So feel free, if you didn't catch any of the notes, that you can go ahead and take a look at that video later on and look at it at your convenience. So I do want to say thank you again, Fabio, for helping us with this presentation. It was very useful. I think it's beneficial, especially for the deadline reaching here. And again, if anyone has any kind of questions, feel free to give Fabio a call. I went ahead and posted the number and his name in the chat. So if you see it there, feel free to do that. Again, if you have questions, you can give us a call. 1-800-iMatrix will make sure to direct you in the right direction. And again, I want to say thanks for attending our webinar today, and thanks again, Fabio.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. You guys have a good day.
Have a great day, everybody.